Again, I said I knew Louisville was a very good football team going in. The record was not indicative of their talent, and the way they have played had some tough breaks. Again, they were a very good front seven team that we knew was going to get pressure and give our line some challenges early. They did. We made adjustments. Our guys battled and did a good job secondary-wise. They've got very good players. We knew the quarterback was going to be a challenge. Very proud of the way our defense kept contained, pressured the quarterback, got 5 sacks in the game, effective, batted a lot of balls, made some plays that way. Special teams did a nice job. Now we got to move on. We got to keep getting better, move on, and going to the Georgia Tech team that very tough. I think this game was, all games are discipline and toughness, but I think this one especially is because they're going to limit your possessions on offense. You got to get off the field on third down and stop them when you get a chance, because they can eat the clock and then play angles, play the dive, play the pitch, play the quarterback, and all of a sudden the play actions and the verticals and the swing routes, and I mean they're very challenging. And the cut blocks and all the things they do when they run their offense. Paul's a heck of a football coach. Defensively, very aggressive, force turnovers. Play great leverage on the football, tackle well, very fast, very athletic defense. A lot of the same guys we played against last year. A lot of returning starters in that group, big physical guys inside, athletic guys, and we recruited a lot of those guys. Be a very disciplined game. We're going to have to play with a lot of discipline because our possessions could be limited. You got to make sure you maximize those and play from a position of strength, which will be very hard. This will be a very challenging game, as always is, and we got to get better this week and accept the challenge. Questions?
When it comes to what Georgia Tech does on offense, how deceptive are they, and is it different than anyone you've seen so far this year?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's the true bone and ham bone and all that stuff you used to call. They used to call Tracy. I mean, the motions, but then they got the wheel routes, the pass routes, the quarterbacks. I mean, there's so many different options, and the way they block, which is not it's clean, it's good blocking. You got to play those cut blocks, and that's what this offense is based on. And years ago, that's what football was everywhere across this country. They're just very disciplined at it and very good at it, and Paul knows it, and it's tough.
Jimbo, with Marshall out, is Tyler Hunter now the star, or are you looking at a number of candidates?
Well, we have some young guys that are really emerging in practice. I think you'll start to see. I mean, you get Tyler Hunter in that group, Javion Elliott, who's playing tremendous football. But those 2 young corners are really emerging in that thing. Marcus Lewis and Tavares McFadden, I think in the last 2 to 3 weeks have really I keep throwing those freshmen out each week, and you see them jump in. Those guys have gotten healthy. That was a big thing. One had a hamstring, one had a bruise, like a bad bone bruise. Now those guys are healthy, and those guys, Marcus can play star. He can play safety. He can play corner. You still got the ability to move Jalen in if they're playing well outside. I mean, there's a multitude of things in which we can do and we will do at that position. And but not that we're very happy with Tyler and all that. But I mean, from matchups, you'll be able to sometimes. And Tyler has the ability to play corner. He's played safety. He's done a lot of things. So, and getting those 2 freshmen, back in the mix, I think will be very critical for us.
With Trey's injury, what was he doing well? I mean, tough to replace the guy.
You name it. Making calls, being physical, tackling in space, covering, just competing. And I mean, the amount of time he's on his own studying the game, that's what I was so proud of. And I hate he got injured because this game rewards you when you do things right. You cut corners, it punishes you. And it's like life. It's no different. But this guy was doing everything right to play well. It wasn't just about ability. It wasn't just about instincts. I mean, it was putting the preparation in, the hard work and practice, the conditioning, everything he had to do to be a good football player, and he was doing it.
When you lose a guy like that early on in the game, you have to make adjustments. I mean, how difficult was that the last 2 weeks to have to make those? Now at least you get. Well,
and it was 2 different scenarios, 2 different teams, and you saw the first 2 was miscommunication. It was 2 different guys, and they got to play, and then we got it adjusted when we got back to the sideline. But those guys are like losing quarterbacks back there. They're tough, and he manages those very well.
It seems like every game, there's either an injury or a DQ in the secondary, so you guys got to adjust. What have you seen from Derwin?
He's learning to not play hesitant, playing fast, and he makes mistakes. Some of them there's mistakes and you can't see, but sometimes he'll play so hard he'll overcome them, or somebody else will. But the thing I ask him to do, you can't sit and worry about every little thing. You got to play fast, you got to play free, you got to react to things. And he's doing that. He's taken to everything I'm trying to say and doing that. I mean, everything's not perfect, but man, his adjustments, his ball skills, his tackling in space, his ability to blitz. I mean, he is really, he's emerging into the kind of football player we thought he could be.
What is Nate's status? He just looked like he was really gutty.
He was. He had a little pressure on his knee. It would just bother him a little bit, and there was no need to put him in there. He'll rest a couple days this week and should be good about the middle of the week on.
And you go talk about for a kid to come in like Elliott did, and just.
But I'm gonna say this: to do what he's done at the level he's doing that on the kind of team that we're recruiting consistently, it's hard. I mean, but walk-ons do. You have those special ones who come in, and I think he's done a great job. But there was a guy on scout team a year or 2 ago, and he said, "Man, that guy's got a little ability." And he was showing it on scout. Wasn't just going through the motion. He was over a play and said, "Maybe this is a guy we need to look at on special teams." I mean, those guys, it rewards guys who hustle, whatever their role is. I always tell a guy, you know, if you got one play, 10, whatever your role in this team is, be the best at it you can be. You know, if you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper in the world. If you're a dentist, be the best dentist. If you're a ditch digger, be the best. Whatever you do, be the best at it. Take pride in it. And he did that as a scout team player. And we noticed him, got him on special teams. All of a sudden, you know, he's got ability. You know, we can use him here. Let's get him some reps. He's over here, so let's rep him a little bit in the secondary. He could be a guy that we could put in. All of a sudden, he's learning. He's doing. Man, he can make plays. He's practicing against the ones and twos, and all of a sudden he sees I can make plays. He gets confidence, and it's just tremendous. I'm very happy for him.
Now, and you went to him over some guys who have been on scholarship. There are other
Yeah.
guys in this team that we've seen on the field that you went
Ain't no age limit. Ain't no who you play well, you play. You practice well, you play. And it's nothing against those guys. He is just been exceptional in what he's trying to do, and his effort and his whole attitude.
The physicality last year against Georgia Tech, last time we played Georgia Tech, Trey and Jalen seemed like they gave you a lot of physicality on the edges. If you have to play some of those younger corners, you could see what you.
Well, you're there, but also you can play with safeties, those backers, and those other people you got to do. You got to do that, but put them in different positions to do it, you know, however you got to do it. But there's always concern when you do that because that game tests it. I mean, you have to make them.
Is there anything in particular you do for your freshmen, Josh and Derwin, those guys, seeing this offense for the first time? Is there anything in particular to prepare them?
No, we worked in the off season on it. We worked in the off week on it. You know, that was one of the teams that we worked on. We knew it'd be tough coming in, so we put packages in. We're ready to go.
Jimbo, you said a few times some guys are still just on that traditional track where it's the third year or the fourth year where they really start to blossom. For Kermit, is there anything other than the maturation as to why he's been so successful?
Well, I think Kermit, if you go back and watch Kermit, he's being asked to play a position he still really never played in high school or his whole life. Because what I mean is, everybody always gave the ball to Kermit. You pitched it to him, you punted it to him, you kicked it to him, occasionally you threw it to him, but they weren't a school who threw the ball a lot. And what a lot of fast guys do is they're fast with the ball. They don't ever learn how to play without the ball. You got to be faster as a receiver. It's more important to be faster without the ball. You know what I'm saying? To create the space to get open and then understand how to run route, understand how to run coverage. So really Kermit, even though he's a receiver, but he had to learn how to play receiver. Does that make any sense? I mean, and all the little things about it. And then also, I mean, it was hard. I know, and we've talked about with him, it was hard for him to play fast without the ball because he'd never done it. Again, it goes back to what I always say, you know the directions to where you're going. If you know, you can go real fast. If you don't, you're stopping at every sign, looking and turning and guessing, and you know what I mean? Just the comfort level of doing it. Now he's done it enough. He's had some success with it. His confidence is growing, and like I say, he feels more comfortable, and he's still a lot to do. But he's getting much better, and very proud of the work and the time he's put in.
A lot of teams are going with bigger receivers, and you have some taller guys. But what's the value in still having, someone who's 5'8" like Kermit, and maybe having a different type of? Well,
getting the ball in his hand is so dynamic, and then the pure speed and athleticism, change of direction. I mean, it's hard. I mean, think about this. I know this sounds crazy. When you tackle little guys, if they're special, I think, very great quickness or something special about them. You know what I mean? When you go to tackle them and you're 6'2" or 6'3", what do you got to do?
Get low.
And what else you got to do most of the time? When you're wanting to pick something up or get something shorter than you.
You got to get low.
And what else do you do? When as soon as you get low, as soon as you start to get low, what do you do? Slow down. You slow down. You get slow. You know what I mean? To run through a little guy, it's hard. I mean, you go to bend down. I mean, you're running full. You start to slow, and all of a sudden, those guys are that electric quick, or even if they're not great speed, just great change of direction guys. You know what I'm saying? You see it all the time. They're hard to get on the ground. And then the thing about Kermit, you don't realize, even though he's shorter than me, make sure you tell him that. He's not little, and what I mean by that, he's strong in his features and his bone structure. He's not a frail guy. He has. If you look at his legs and his rear end, his thighs, I mean, the power. He can explode. When he hits guys, he can explode into guys. That's why he can run as a short guy to have that distance in the 100 and the 200, the amount of power he has. And he's stick up here. He's strong in the weight room. He's short, but he's not little, if that makes any sense. So he can take punishment. He can change direction. You got to slow to catch. I mean, it's hard to run through a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? And you got to bend it, and then you got to bend down to do it. By that time he's going. And he's a very good player. And he's got toughness. He's got some toughness.
Jimbo, if you can talk a little bit about the difficulty preparing for Georgia Tech, specifically the cut blocking you mentioned, you can't really emulate that practice, can you?
Well, you can. We do it. I mean, we cut each other and we'll do drills. We do cut drills all the time. I mean, it's like you don't like to tackle all the time in practice because of injuries and taking guys to the ground, but you got to simulate it at times. And we'll do that, and we'll have cut drills and we'll do individual drills. But still, they're going to do it better than we can practice it. But you just got to have experienced guys and trust your technique and play fast.
Jimbo, Dalvin's hamstring, is there a chance without having to take a bunch of rest that he can move past that?
Oh yeah, it's getting stronger and stronger. Like he said, it's not like it was the first time, and it's just something. It's like anything, you just got to continue to strengthen. We'll have to monitor how much time we give him off to how much we work him and things like that.
So you will. Is there any reason just to sit? I mean, can you just sit him during practice?
Yeah, we do. I do sometimes.
I mean, a whole week, or do you need?
You could if you had to, but sometimes that can be more detrimental than it is helpful. I mean, it goes back into the training method. You know what I mean? What we think is best with the physical therapist and things for how they're training the hamstring. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it is, but sometimes by the degree of the pull or whatever it is, you got to keep strength in it. Can make it worse. You're going over my head on that stuff.
Okay, well, in terms of the GPS numbers and technology that you do, how does that help in terms of Dalvin and a hamstring injury?
Well, we can limit how many yards we want, how many accelerations we want, how many max accelerations. Do we not want him to get over 12 miles an hour, 14 miles an hour, 16 miles an hour, 18 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour? You know, you can limit that and see, okay, we don't want that. And if there's so many over that, that's enough of that. And then, you know, can we give him a little more long distance? Do we want him to strain and keep that speed up for a while, or do we just want bursts? I mean, controlling how we practice, and we see that, Dalvin, and let him feel, okay, that was one, that's about where we want you right there. You know what I'm saying? And not having to strain or let up. We need 5 more like that, but then after that, we can go back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, having that regime right there and then having that information right there to be able to train.
Has he been good being honest with you? A lot of players, you know,
Extremely.
That he's hurt.
I trust him wholeheartedly, and I told him, I said, if you're really hurt, and I find out, I mean, you're going to have a big problem. I mean, you have a big, big problem because there's nothing that's ever worth any player's safety, you know, and that's the truth. But he has been, I mean, everything he's told me has been dead on.
How fast does he get up there on the mile per hour?
He broke 23 in practice and training and things. I mean, in the summers, he broke over 23, high 22s, 23 at times.
With his speed, he can only hit that second gear when he's in games. I mean, he doesn't hit that gear in practice.
If he wants to. No, he does sometimes. No. Them guys get competitive now. He'll hit 20, 21, 22. I mean, he ain't hit 23 in the game. That was in the summer. He ain't had to, you know what I mean? But he's hit 21, 22 in practice. Them guys get to talking and competing in practice. They get going. Our best competition now, I keep saying, is we love, that's why we practice like we do. We practice good on good every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Jimmy, you talked about how important it is to get them off the field on 3rd and long. This past weekend was
not very good. We had, and it was silly things. I mean, we're sitting there in the backers chasing a 5-yard drag. And we got a 15-yard dig, and it's 3rd and 14. I mean, we're going to react up on that. I mean, just undisciplined. I mean, we're in a seam, and we're wide to the numbers. We're supposed to be 2 yards outside the hash. We're almost to the numbers on the backside of that one, and they come off the goal line. And the backer drops another yard. I mean, we should have been sitting right there. Just alignments, assignments, you know what I mean? Just little technique. And some of those younger guys, some of those younger players that you're playing, but they got to go through that. You got to show them and do it and you know, make plays. And they hit a couple good plays, but, you know, it's just we got to get better at it.
Getting a running quarterback like Lamar.
It's execution. Goes back to execution. We got to coach it better. They got to do it better.
Facing a running quarterback like Lamar Jackson, how do you think that prepares you guys for Georgia Tech, or is it a little bit different just because?
It's different because of the true runs and the option you're going to do. But they ran quarterback runs now. I mean, you got to keep it's similar in that you got to have leverage on the ball. You got to tackle well. You got to get people to the ball. They didn't pitch it. Of course, now we go tackle this guy. He's going to get rid of it and get somebody else or give it to somebody else. But your zone read is kind of like that. And really, when you go zone read, people don't realize it's the old veer. Your zone read. In crashes, I pull it. Guy comes to me, I pitch it on a back or I'll throw a bubble. It's really all triple option. But this is different because the blocking schemes are different.
Matt Baker. Terrence Smith, real quick.
Getting better and better. I mean, it's day to day, but I mean, he's feeling better. But you know, those high ankles, sometimes you just got to see how much power's in it. But he's rehabbing his heck out of it. It looks good, but now you got to get the strength back in it.
Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Jimbo, you said after the game something to the effect of that you still don't think your team knows how good it can be. So how good do you think it can be?
Do I think it can be if it keeps playing? I don't know. We're going to find out. That's our job as a coach, to get them to be as good as they can be. But I think we can be a heck of a football team. I really do. I think we have all all the things in place. We just have to play well and understand that and take advantage of the opportunities.
Thanks, Jimbo.
Thank you.
Martin, you want to go ahead?
Jimbo, how much of the cornerback's commitment to stopping the run is a concerted effort by the coaching staff this season? It seems like they've really stepped up to that. And what else have you seen on film from the secondary's ability to kind of plug gaps and offer all that run defense support?
Well, it has been the secondary, and we are committed. We've always been committed. I think our front people are playing with more discipline. I think we're using our hands better. We're using our hat and hands better, playing with better leverage, not getting, as I say, out of our gaps, being disciplined. I think our backers have learned to come downhill much better and fit gaps, and also take blockers off our down guys, which has been critical, which has been bouncing things to unblock secondary players, and we're tackling well in space. I think it's a combination of all three.
Niall the other day looked like he played maybe as well as he had.
He has.
What's he bringing to you?
The experience, knowledge, he's getting, he's feeling like that fifth-year senior, the confidence, the strength, he's powerful, he's athletic. I mean, just really merging into the kind of player we really thought he could be.
Seems like he's pretty quick for a guy.
You remember now, he was a 280-pound middle linebacker. He stood up. He never put his hand in the ground until he came here. I mean, he is athletic and can move now.
Is there a sense of urgency for him, knowing it's his last year? What is it?
I think it is that, and plus he went through the injury. I mean, sometimes he went through the injury last year, was playing real well early, and then lost it. And sometimes, you love something, but all of a sudden it's going. How much you really love it, and you want to make sure you get to take most of the opportunity you have next.
Jimbo, the two young cornerbacks, they missed time in the spring in preseason camp, right, from injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a matter of the injury or just falling behind? Or?
Well, it's a matter of the injury and then falling behind. But now they've gotten caught. I mean, the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, we felt really good about playing them in the game. I mean, they're ready. I mean, you see they're big, they're long, they're athletic. You know what I mean? And they can play multiple positions, and they're very smart. They're very intelligent. I mean, it's just the other guys have played. Marquez and those guys and Trey have been playing really well with Derwin, but we feel comfortable in that mix. It's time for them to come on. Because like I said last year, who was Dalvin Cook at this time last year? How much had Dalvin Cook done? You know what I mean? And the other, Travis Rudolph was just a guy you kind of played a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're about the middle. All those guys, it happens every year. That's where some of these real young freshmen, even the ones that maybe didn't get out the gate well or got injured, they get that second wind. The season goes. We're into almost NFL seasons now. So you got to keep developing those guys. That's why we practice like we do, to keep developing those guys throughout the year to start adding depth and things into what you need.
Can McFadden play the star, or just Lewis better?
Lewis is probably more natural to star, but he could. But McFadden, them guys are very talented now. Go ahead.
Going off of Matt's question about how good this team can be, I understand the committee's rankings aren't coming out for a few more weeks, but do you like where your team is at right now at that point in the season here?
Yes, I thought we're emerging and evolving like I thought we would. I thought there'd be some moments early that wouldn't play to what your potential is, but you have to go through that process. You know what I'm saying? And play well enough to do the things and just keep looking at yourself and evaluating yourself and keep taking that next step. And I am very pleased where we're at. Now, we just got to keep evolving, but I am pleased because the attitude's there, the effort's there, the toughness is there. We just keep getting a little better in execution, keep better in adding little packages.
And understanding it's still mid-season and the traditional polls don't mean as much as they used to. Some Florida State fans have been upset that one-loss teams have jumped Florida State again, kind of similar to last year. Do you pay attention? Do you take
I control what I can control. And that's all we can do is play. If we play well and do what I do, then I'll get in that battle. But right now we got a lot of football left to do, and we need to just play football and get better. And I say that because what am I going to do? What am I going to do at the end of the day? The only way you can affect the way people think of you is play, and keep playing well, keep winning games. That's what we do.
But is there a different feeling when you're not? The last 2 years you were the hunted. 2 years ago kind of came on at the end. But
I ain't telling you. You tell them teams we're playing they ain't hunting us. They want to get a piece of us. No, not really.
But now you're kind of not in that group that's talked about all the time now. Is that kind of is a different feeling? Is it better for the kids to,
I don't know. I mean, you got to learn to deal with all those things. And I think, my focus maybe is off of it more because of different. Each team has its own way as a coach. You have to focus on. They're going to make you better. My focus may be on some different things with younger guys, developing guys, but at the end of the day, people always, it matters what they say about you and think. People say that all the time, but it does. All people care. You know what I mean? But like I tell our guys, the only way you can control things is keep doing your job, go to work, play well each week. Things will take care of itself.
When you looked at that second half, how good was Everett Golson? I mean, compared to what he'd done before?
He wasn't real bad in the first half. We weren't good around him. You know what I mean? But he left some plays on the field, and he left plays on the field in the second half. But he was really good. I mean, he made the plays he had some opportunities. Still a lot of things I think we got to clean up, and I'm not saying that in critical. I mean that in a very positive way because you see what he has a potential to do, and he's doing that. But he was really good in the game, getting rid of the ball, managing the clock, milking the clock down, snapping the ball at the right times, making the critical third down throw down there for the red zone that got us up three scores. Great throw right there to Travis Rudolph. Great drive. On the other thing, we had a lot of run pass options and things that were going on with him. He was getting us in now the right plays and getting the ball to the right people, and just very pleased. And I think relaxing, the more each week, just getting comfortable with the plays, the reads, what we're wanting, and just, as I say, your mind's free, your heart's full. Just react, see things, know it, do what you're coached to do, and just play. You know what I mean? And play hard. And he's doing that more and more.
So a big part of that was also the offensive line. They played a lot better.
Oh, yeah, they did around him. I mean, again, everybody's got to be in sync. I mean, everybody's got to be in sync.
You say in sync whenever it breaks containment, are receivers getting a better idea of how to?
Well, we got scramble rules. No, I mean, that's you did that with Jameis. Jameis used to make so many plays when we scramble, when you broke the pocket. And those good ones do. They keep their eyes up, the ball up as they're attacking the line of scrimmage, and he's doing a good job of that. And we're finding those gaps better.
How much of Everett, you mentioned being more comfortable, is that him feeling more confidence with the receivers and knowing where guys are going to be, trusting
exactly.
That kind of stuff?
Their body line, even not just knowing the play, but how a certain guy runs a route. You want them all to run the same, but everybody's got their own trigger points. You can see when his shoulder goes or his head goes or his arm goes, where that trigger point is and what he's going to do. I mean, just learning each other, the more and more you're around each other, I think all those things are factors.
Would you say, like, the way Kermit and both Everett kind of come on lately, has that kind of been by design or has that kind of been by coincidence?
A little both. I think it's both. I mean, both guys working hard and taking advantage of opportunities, and we've designed some things. But I've been very pleased with Travis Rudolph and Bobo. I mean, I've been very pleased with Izzo and Maven Sanders. Erman and we got to get Erman and Javon going in that group too, can make it really good. But those young tight ends, I mean, I'll tell you Izzo played his tail off in that game. Blocking, catching balls, doing things. That guy is evolving into a really good. Maven Sanders, his role is keep that catch he made on the sideline. I mean, you see what I keep talking about. I mean, that guy, that's a 6'5", 255-pound guy. I mean, those guys just keep coming.
Two more questions. Jimbo, you've closed in on tying the record for Florida State's closed in on tying the record for most wins in the ACC in a row.
I didn't know that.
You guys have obviously been very talented over these last few years, but what about the mental things you guys do in your program that's helped you win so many games in a row within an ACC competition when you have been targeted as the #1 team for quite some time?
Well, I think, again, it goes back to, and I say this, you control what you can control. And I think you got to get yourself mentally, psychologically, and physically ready to play. And we spend a lot of time with our kids trying to, as I call it all the time, eliminating the clutter. I mean, when there's tons of things in your head, it's hard to focus. And learning how to compartmentalize at the right times of the day, the week, the travel, before a game, after a game, and then when things go on in the game, how you compartmentalize and handle pressure and how you deal with things and the way you get out of it. We spend a lot of time, and some work, some don't all the time, and guys get it at a slower pace, but I think those are all very critical factors of, we talk about talent all the time, but you got to teach guys how, I mean, there's so many factors out there that go into success and failures. I mean, it's unlimited. And I sit and I think of new things every day, and then somebody else, I said, I didn't even think of that. That's a factor. You know what I mean? But I think the more you can just help those guys understand that and just simplify. We all want, because at the end of the day, we can have all this knowledge. If I'm thinking about 50 things, I'm no good at anything. I do this, this, and this. This, and solidifying the days. Today, I got to do this, this, and this. Don't worry about it. Go to bed. Quit worrying about all the other stuff. Tomorrow, I do this. And all of a sudden, when those situations occur, I have my library of things I got to do. And I think teaching young men, women, whatever, how to compete that way and compartmentalize is extremely critical. We spend a lot of time in that.
And just going back to the rankings real quick, there's been a lot of talk about where Florida State, even if they're undefeated, will be in the rankings. Why do you think your team deserves to be ranked among the top in the nation?
I think the consistency in which we play with, the way the program is, the history of this program as far as what it's meant, who it's competed with. But in this team here, you say each individual team. This team, again, is accepting all the challenges. And right now, I'm not worried about it. At the end of the day, we got to win the rest of these games. We got some big-time opponents in front of us that they say are highly ranked. If we take care of our business and do our business, I mean, it'll take care of itself. And I believe that.
Obviously, player safety is a big part of the targeting and rules like that. But when you have the horse collars that aren't called, I mean, how frustrating.
It is, because, I mean, you're talking about a guy, I mean, the guy, I don't think the player does it on purpose. I mean, you're talking about, and everyone knows who's got the ball. I mean, you miss that's critical. And again, then we send it in, do what we got to do. And I don't think they do it on purpose. I don't think officials make bad calls on purpose. But you got to be responsible, because that's a very can be I mean, you can blow. I mean, that can be as devastating or more devastating sometimes on injuries and even a targeting call. And we've got to. I hope they'll see it, because I'm gonna tell you one thing: when 8 and 4 run, usually you're trying to get them from behind when they get out in space. So. We'll do, hopefully they'll see the next one.
All right.
We're good? Thank you all. Y'all have a great day.